everyone, this is Maggie Connolly. Welcome to our first virtual Star Talk here on Earth Day. Right now we are going to look at some of the objects that are in the sky tonight. So as you know, a lot of us have kind of been stuck at home for a while, which means that there's a lot less air pollution. Because of this, you might be able to see some stars that you haven't seen before, or maybe some of the ones that you have seen before appear brighter, maybe a little bit clearer. All right, so let's look at what's in the sky. Right now you can see that we are facing south. That's why we have this S right here. So this means that if you went outside tonight and you were in your yard and you turned and faced south and looked up, you might see a sky that looks similar to this. Now what we want to look at though are the objects that are over here in the southwest part of the sky. So I am going to spin our sky a little bit. I'm going to zoom up just a little bit too so we can see a little bit more. All right, so in this part of the sky we have some very bright objects. Most of these objects are stars. One object is not. Does anyone know what object is really bright in the sky right now that is not a star? Well, if you guessed a planet, you would be correct. This one right here. This planet is Venus. And Venus has actually been in the sky pretty bright for a little while now, and it'll continue to be for the next few weeks. So if you look up and you see the brightest object in the sky, it's going to be Venus. Now let's take a look at some constellations or groups of stars that are in the sky right now. The first one I'm going to look for is one that's pretty popular. It's pretty noticeable. Lots of people know it. Does anyone see a constellation that they might be familiar with? Well, if we look right here, we are going to see the constellation of Orion. So when we're looking for Orion, we look for these three stars that are close together. These make up his belt. We have two for his shoulders, two for his knees. There's his head right there. And if we were to connect these stars, kind of like how we would connect the dots, we might see an outline that looks like this. Now, Orion is a warrior. He's a hunter. He has his shield right here. He has his weapon right here. And from this star outline, you might be able to imagine what we think Orion could look like. Is anyone able to imagine it? Well, if you're having some trouble, let me help you out. There we go. So there is Orion, our hunter. Now, what I like about Orion is that we can actually use Orion to find some other constellations. If we take these three stars, we draw a line straight over, we're going to get to this star, the brightest star in our nighttime sky. It has a Sirius name. It is seriously a bright star. All right, I'm sorry, I just had to do it. This star is called Sirius. Another name for it is the dog star because Sirius is part of a constellation called Canis Major. And if we think about Sirius being a dog star and we look at this outline right here, you might imagine that this is a dog. You would be correct. Canis Major is the big dog constellation. All right, let's go back to Orion's belt. And this time we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to draw our line this way. We're going to get to this, kind of looks like the letter V. And this is part of the constellation of Taurus. Now, Taurus is a constellation whose outline might be a little bit difficult to imagine what Taurus is if you don't already know. So I would tell you, if I didn't know what Taurus was, I might think that he's a crocodile, right? Because that could be his body and then that could be his mouth. But I would be wrong. Taurus is not a crocodile. Does anyone know what animal Taurus is? Well, if you guessed a bull, you are correct. So let's take that picture away and let's look at it again. And now that we know that it's a bull, you might be able to see that a little bit better, right? Because now you can see that these are his horns and then the rest of it is like his body. So that is Taurus the bull. Let's go back to Orion. We're going to go to that belt, go up to this star called Betelgeuse. Then we're going to draw a line straight up. We are going to look at these two stars together. They look like, I don't know, maybe they could be similar brightness. Maybe they could be twins. These two stars are part of a constellation called Gemini, and Gemini is the twins, Castor and Pollux. And then one last constellation we're going to look in the south. If we go back to Orion's belt one last time, we go over to Sirius. And this time we're going to go straight up. We're going to get to this other bright star. And we're going to draw that constellation. Ah, that's kind of fun, right? We just drew a line. This is the constellation of Canis Minor. So if Canis Major was our big dog, what do we think Canis Minor is? It's our little dog. I mean, you can see that, right? You can totally see how it's a little dog. No? All right, let's help you. There we go. So these are some of the constellations that we can see if we are facing south. Let's zoom out and let's turn the sky so that we can face north. There we go. So now if you're in your yard and instead of facing south, you turn around and you face north, you look up, you might see something like this. I'm going to move this up just a little bit for us. There we go. And I'm going to look for a very noticeable group of stars. Some of you might already see it. Lots of people ask me whenever I do star talks, where is the Big Dipper? It's right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is our Big Dipper. But when I draw the constellation outline, we can see that there are some other stars with it. That is because the Big Dipper itself is not a constellation. It's what we call an asterism, which is a group of stars that are part of a bigger picture. In this case, this constellation is Ursa Major. So we have our tail, we've got our body, our head's right here, some legs, some legs. Does anyone know what animal Ursa Major is? Ursa Major is the big bear. That's right. Now, I'm going to leave this one outline for just a moment because we are going to use the Big Dipper to find the Little Dipper. We're going to take these two stars. These are called the pointer stars. We're going to draw our line straight down. We're going to get to this star. This star is called Polaris. Does anyone know another name for Polaris? The North Star. That's right. This is our North Star. North Star is part of the Little Dipper. These stars are not as easy to find. They're going to be a little bit dimmer, but they are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we outline the Little Dipper, it's part of a constellation called Ursa Minor. So if Ursa Major is our big bear, then Ursa Minor should be our little bear. Now, when I look at these drawings, I think they're kind of funny because they have really long tails, and bears don't generally have long tails. There is a reason for this. So if you look up the Greek mythology or the Native American mythology stories about these bears, then you might find out why these tails are so long. All right, so go back to our Big Dipper. We drew our line straight down. We found Polaris. We're going to keep going. We're going to go straight back this way. We're going to get to this constellation. Kind of looks like a zigzag. Maybe it's an M or a W or an E, depending on how you look at it. This is the constellation of Cassiopeia, and she is a queen. We can totally see that, right? Let's help you out. There we go. So these are some constellations that you might be able to see in the northern part of our sky tonight. I thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you continue to look up at the stars. Keep an eye on our Facebook page. We always like to highlight if there's any big astronomy things coming up. And hopefully we'll be able to see you at Roper Mountain again soon.